Hi everybody and welcome to another live stream with me, Martin Twycross, a mediumship clinic, which is an opportunity for you to ask me any questions you have on mediumship, development, spiritualism or any related topic. So good to see you all. If you're here, pop your name in the chat box. And I do these live Q&As once a month, and I do them to support my courses, my classes, and just an opportunity for everybody to bring your questions along to be answered by an experienced tutor. Slim Jack, welcome. And welcome to everyone who's catching this on the live stream. I know a lot of people do catch it on the live stream, so welcome to you too. If you're here this evening and you want to ask a question, you do need to be logged in to Google or to YouTube to be able to get your question and asked in the chat box. People often text me or message me and say that I couldn't ask a question and I don't know why, and that's generally the reason. So the way it works is you pop your questions in the chat box and I will work through them one at a time. If you want to get your question answered sooner, you can make a small donation through Super Chat, which is the dollar box at the bottom of the screen, and I will get to your question as the next question. I'll finish what I'm doing and get to your question as the next question. So welcome, Philip. So I do have a couple of questions that I brought along to the class this evening because I thought they were worthy of sharing. I've seen a lot of mediums work who often say, I just give what spirit gives me, and I'm not aware of what I'm saying. I'm not aware of what I'm doing. And the question was asked, should you be aware of what you're saying during a sitting or whilst you're doing mediumship? And the simple answer is yes. But let me give you a slightly more complex answer. Because the way our mind works, we have a conscious mind, a subconscious mind. I've drawn a little diagram to help answer this question. So we have subconscious mind on the right here, conscious mind on the left here. You'll hear many people tell you to do mediumship. You need to use your subconscious mind. Mediumship is an altered state, which of course it is. So with a subconscious mind, that's a source of our intuition, source of our imagination. It's also where our psychic senses and mediumship operate from. So when we're doing psychic work or mediumship, we're operating predominantly from the subconscious. Now, the conscious mind is your logical, reasoning, analytical mind. We use it to monitor, to understand, and to troubleshoot. So it's an important part of the process of mediumship. So some people say you should operate solely through the subconscious and you want to lose your conscious mind. Now, technically, that's not true at all. What you need to do is you need to connect through your subconscious and do mediumship and psychic work through the subconscious, but use our conscious mind to understand what is taking place. You should be aware of everything that comes out of your mouth. You should be aware of everything you're saying. You should be aware of if the evidence is being taken or if what you're saying on a psychic level is understood. And if it's not, it gives you the opportunity to troubleshoot it, to fix it. So we need to monitor what's taking place. We need to understand what is happening in the room. And we then need, if there's problems arising, we need to troubleshoot it. Very commonly, you'll see mediums work on platform. They start working with somebody and then the person just gives them lots of no's and they're not there, or something's happened, something's gone wrong, and they're not doing anything about it. They're not changing. And the problem they have is that basically they're not using their subconscious mind to monitor and understand the process or troubleshoot the process. And people say to me, oh, spirit give me stuff, I give it, and I have no recollection of it whatsoever. Now, you need to know what comes out of your mouth because we have responsibility as mediums. We have responsibility as psychics. You've got to be aware of what you're saying. If it's hurtful, harmful, or damaging, you've got to be aware of it. Absolutely. You can't just say things and have no responsibility for them. So we have to monitor what's being said, what's taking place. We have to monitor for when our mediumship is working and when it's not working. And when we get no's, we have to work with those no's. We have to understand that it's feedback to help us. So hopefully that helps answer that question, that yes, you should be aware of what you're saying during a reading, during mediumship. Now, how long should you retain that knowledge for? Because myself, people come to me at the end of a service. I may have done, 7 links. And they'll come to me at the end of the service and start talking about their message. And I'm thinking, I can't remember it. And what happens is with me, the information comes through me. I monitor it. I'm aware of it. I understand what's going on. I give it. And then I let it go. And I don't hold on to it. I don't remember everything that comes out of my mouth. because, memory is a challenging thing, isn't it? To remember every single thing would be very, very hard. So we can't do that. But I have an inkling and understanding of, yes, I gave you a message. Yes, it was your mum. That big picture, yes. But detail, no. And if you come back to me 2-3 weeks later, you haven't got a hope. 2-3 weeks later, I'm going to forget it all because there's no reason for me to know. So it's important to understand that some degree of memory of it on the evening or after the sitting, absolutely. But beyond that, we can relinquish it and let it go, for sure. I get that. So welcome to Just Me, to Omar. Good to see you again. And another question I want to bring into this class as well, which was a very interesting question. I've seen this many, many, many times. I've just started a new circle, and the teacher says, I can stay in the circle and come to the circle, provided I don't go for teaching anywhere else, provided they're my sole teacher. Now, I don't know about you, how you feel about that. You can pop how you feel about it in the chat box. But for me, that doesn't feel right. If somebody wants to make themselves the sole tutor you're allowed to access, for me, that doesn't vibe right with me, I'm afraid. It doesn't sit well. When I was in training myself, I used to go to all over the place, to different people, to experience different styles of teaching, to experience different ideas, different understanding. And sometimes, occasionally, people would say, you can come to my teaching, but only if you don't go anywhere else. And for me, it's like, I can't do that. It's not what I'm about. So I never, ever have said that in my mediumship teaching career. I wouldn't say it. Sometimes it speaks of ego of the teacher, that they want students to be in their class only. Sometimes it's money making. We want you to come every week to us, nowhere else. We want that commitment. Yeah, I get the need for a commitment with a circle. I get the need for commitment with classes, but not to the detriment of everything else. So for me, definitely somebody shouldn't tell you not to go and have teaching from anybody else. Like I used to have teaching with local tutors, and then I used to go and have teaching with the Arthur Findlay College tutors. As many of you know, I'm an approved Arthur Findlay College tutor myself. And, it was if you like, a higher standard of teaching than I could get locally, and I could access locally. Now, occasionally we encounter teachings mindsets that don't work well together. So, for example, there is an organization in my neck of the woods here in the UK that teaches, when doing platform mediumship, that the students just start psychically. And then if a spirit link comes in, great. And if it doesn't, they keep working psychically. And that's not the way I teach it at all. With me, you start with spirit. We don't start psychically, because platform mediumship is all about the evidence. It's all about demonstrate survival. So if one of their students comes to my classes, I'll say that's not how you're meant to do it. And you're meant to do it this way. I have had some teachers from those other areas write to me and tell me that I'm wrong. But you know what? As I said, if every tutor of the Arthur Findlay College teaches the same way that I do, it can't be wrong, can it really? So, but if you're there to demonstrate platform mediumship, demonstrate survival, you have to connect to spirit. You can't do it by working psychically. So in that scenario, I'd say to people, really, you kind of have to choose which way you're going to work. You kind of have to choose whether you go with that mindset or the style of teaching that I do, that the Arthur Findlay College does. And you'll have to make that choice. Another school of teaching was that you don't ever work from clair-sentience. You only work from clairvoyance and clairaudience. And again, that didn't vibe with me neither, because most people don't have clairaudience to begin with. Most people are primarily clairvoyant and clair-sentient. So if you're banning people from using clair-sentience, which in my opinion is the master sense, and I know many other tutors who used to teach that as well, that most mediumship functions through the solar plexus, the master clair-sentience. So everything else falls out from that. If you're going to ban that, it's going to make life incredibly difficult for you to work. Where, if you like, you're handicapping yourself before you even start. And I've had students who tried that way and came to my class and said, oh, your class is so much easier. And they said, oh, I can't go back to that. It's just, no, it just doesn't resonate for me. And again, so if the styles are incompatible, I may say to them, it probably doesn't serve you to go with that style of working because it's not going to help you. But I explain the logical reasons why, and I help them show them get the results so that they can choose for themselves. It's not my job to tell anybody, don't go with that teacher, don't do that, don't do this. That's not my job. But my job is to help you yourself find your answers. So hopefully that answers that. If a teacher says to you, you cannot go with any other teacher, for me, it's a bit of a red flag, to be honest. I'm kind of like, why? Why are they saying that? You know, what's the reason? Because, yeah, by all means, go with that local teacher, but every now and again, go off for courses with well-recognized good tutors. There should be no reason why you can't do that. So hopefully that helps answer that question. So if you've got questions, you can start loading them up in the chat box. If you're here, say hello. It'd be good to see you. I can see there's a few people have said hi, but by all means, we can add a few more. And if you're watching this on the replay, good to see you too. So Philip, you have a question. Do you believe in using sage and white light? It really depends upon what you mean by that question. Do I use sage for mediumship? No, not at all. Because do I feel that? Here's a one that was quite amusing. I once went to a workshop and everyone who went through the door to do mediumship and this mediumship workshop, you were stopped at the door and you were completely smudged all over with sage and you were sprayed with some crystal essence before you were even allowed in the door to stop you from bringing in negative energies and bad vibes. And I'm like, yeah, right. What's the point of this? This is madness. Again, that was for me a red flag, to be frank, because it's totally irrelevant to mediumship. Mediumship, there is no need to cleanse people. I have some videos on my channel. One, the mediums need protection, and various other ones. There's a whole series on them, all about grounding, protection, opening and closing your chakras, and also rituals within mediumship. There's a whole series of 4 of those. So do check them out. But things like that, the idea of needing protection brings in fear. Like, I never do protection rituals, and I've been doing mediumship now for over 20 years, and it's not harmed me in any way, shape or form. So it depends upon you. If you believe there's something to fear, you want a protection ritual. I don't believe somebody coming into a workshop or a class of mine can bring in bad energies that I could remove with sage or a spray. It's not going to happen. I don't believe they can bring in bad energies anyway. Everyone has their own psychic energy they bring, for sure. And, different people have different energies. But I can't cleanse that with a spray. It's not possible. So sage, I don't use sage. I know some people who do. Some people who follow the shamanic Native American where they space clear. You can space clear with it. Yeah, you can space clear with sound. You can space clear with intent. You can space clear with white light. Absolutely. All of that. White light, again, it depends upon what we're using it for. So you can use white light as a visualization to help you connect to the spirit world. You can imagine like a shaft of light coming through you, helping you connect to the spirit world, but only as a visualization. It's not really real. You can imagine light flowing through you when you're doing healing, again, as a visualization to aid the process. But is it necessary? No. When I'm working with spirit, do I work with anything like white light? No. Do I use visualizations? No, not anymore. In the early stages, we teach you visualizations to help you connect. But in later stages, you don't need it. It's, we learn to connect, and when we connect, we're in. So, but yes, there may be other practices that white light may be beneficial for. And so I'm not knocking it, nor am I knocking the use of sage. I know several people who use sage for space clearing, and yeah, it can be used for that purpose. White sage is very commonly sold for that purpose. And it smells quite nice as well. So, but again, similarly with incense and things, yeah, it's personal choice how you use it, but it's not necessary. One thing I would say though is if you're doing sittings professionally, you've got to be very careful burning incense and sage, because people coming through your door may be allergic to it, may have asthma or other chest conditions. And the last thing you want is for someone to come through the door and say, oh, I can't stay, the sage is triggering my asthma and I'm off, and you can't do the sitting. So again, if you want to do it well in advance of any sittings. So I hope that helps. Next question. So Sue, welcome. And welcome, Maria. Okay, Rain, what are some exercises to develop clair-sentience? So clair-sentience is where we're learning to feel things. It's clair. It's clair-sentience. It's feeling personalities. It's sensing energy. It's sensing things. So obviously, to do clairvoyance, it's all about visualization exercises. To do a clair-sentience, it's all about developing your feelings, your real feelings, pardon me, and your psychic sensing of feelings, your psychic sensing of personality, your psychic sensing of all of that. You know, the conditions I typically get through sensing is people's health and passing. They're very obvious. Personality as well is very strong. You can feel, you know, their build, how they are in the body, all of that. And how do you train it? You focus on it. How do you train it? You bring your awareness to it. How do you train it? You isolate it. You try and receive information solely with clair-sentience. But clair-sentience develops at different times in different people. In most people, they start strongly clairvoyant, and then it's about learning to develop and bring in clair-sentience. If you're the kind of person who doesn't do emotions in any way, shape or form, it's going to be hard for you to feel spirit emotion. Anybody here, I don't know if you don't do emotions, pop in the chat box. But basically, so people who don't do emotions, I often send them away with homework to go and watch some emotional movies that are well known for making people cry, and to try and tune in, try and be empathetic, try and tune in to the emotions of what's happening and allow it to affect you. Most people who don't do emotions have closed the emotional part down. So we're seeking to reopen it. We're seeking for that to be lifted. Sometimes it takes work on self, spiritual self-development. Sometimes it takes effort for us to resolve any blocks that we have of our own emotions, which can come from past traumas, come from past difficult experiences. So for sure, all of those can be used as well. But then just working with spirit, doing spirit links, and then trying to get personality, trying to get health, feeling into it, asking spirit to superimpose it upon you. That's how you'll get better at it. But just don't rush it. Go with the flow. So I hope that helps answer that question for you. Welcome, Janet, Patricia, and the Bee Farmer. Good to see you. So, Omar, have you worked with archangels in your mediumship? No. Am I interested in archangels? No, I'm afraid not. The problem I have is I call myself a rational medium, a down-to-earth medium. Strapline, of course, bringing you practical down-to-earth teachings on mediumship and development without the fluff. Nobody can prove to me they're working with an archangel at all. They can't. Nobody can prove that to me whatsoever. You can demonstrate to me you may be working with guides, but beyond that, what are they? No one can demonstrate to me they've got Jesus, the Buddha, as a guide. No one can demonstrate me they've got famous mediums as a guide, unless somebody who knew that famous medium well went for a private sitting, and the person who was doing the sitting did not actually know they were a friend or knew they were there and in that capacity, and words could be spoken of, that would be absolutely categorically proof to that person. And those things are very, very rare, very rare. So again, no one can prove to me that they're channeling or working in trance with famous mediums. Nobody can prove to me that their guides are X, Y, or Z. Can't easily be done. So whether you believe in archangels or not, I happen not to believe in archangels. I don't do angels at all. Angels are archangels. My definition of an angel, which I covered in the previous Q&A, was a soul that is here to help us upon our spiritual journey, whether in this world, physical world, or the spirit world. So if I'm at rock bottom and I'm crying out for help and somebody appears in my life to help me, who may have been inspired by the divine spirit, whoever, to answer my call, they're an angel. They're an angel. So that's my definition of angels. Anybody from the spirit world who wants to come forward to help us upon this earth plane, they are angels by my definition. but I don't do angels as strange beings, and I don't really work with archangels. I know there's a whole thing on archangels, all the old Doreen virtue and all of that, and it doesn't do a thing for me, I'm afraid. So I don't do that. So if that's your bag, I'm not knocking it. Good luck to you, but it's not for me. So I hope that answers your question, Omar. Maria, do you stay on the topic that the spirit first brings through to deepen the evidence? That's what I was told to do, but I found it hard. It all depends where you are in your mediumship. If you're missing important pieces of information that are coming from spirit and you're not deepening the evidence, then yes, that's an exercise we would recommend. But if you're working really well, there's no point trying to milk it for the sake of milking it. There's no point trying to go into it to the nth degree. You know, I see mediums stand up and I've got a man here, and they'll just give loads of evidence, bang, 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 bang. And certain bits of evidence lift out and they stand out and they have a real depth to them that needs to be worked with. And they miss it. And they miss it. And it's like, no, you missed that bit. And when we go back and touch it and drill into it, it unfolds the whole link. So you've got to be able to psychically sense, which is where clair-sentience comes in, sense which pieces of evidence have more meaning and where there's depth. You know, if you just say a man here and there's a problem, something to do with the heart or the lungs, no, that's not good enough. That's mostly everybody. You can argue everybody's heart stops eventually. So, you know, is it chest? Is it heart? Is it long term? Is it short term? Is it an illness? Was it sudden like a heart attack? Work with it, drill into it, push into it, feel into it. Use symbols if necessary. But we can go in there to get that depth for sure. You know, so that's what I'm saying. We need to be aware of when it's there and when it's not, or when we're given generic evidence that we really need to get a bit more, versus when, you know, if I get somebody come forward to me and the first piece of information they bring me is that it's dad. Well, what more can I do with that? You know, okay, I can work with what was your relationship with your dad. Got your dad here, oh, you were very close. But yeah, I could potentially just work that and drill into the relationship to unfold it. But most people wouldn't accept it unless it was a reading. And even then, there's not enough information. So you may say, okay, the relationship, there's meaning there. I'm coming back to it. But I wouldn't keep working it to begin with. I'd park it. And then, okay, when I teach people to bring enough evidence so they recognize, so the loved one is recognized, so that the sitter recognizes the loved one, or the recipient in a demonstration recognizes their loved one, then they allow them to be reunited. You allow that reunion to happen. And in doing so, the nature of the relationship generally becomes very apparent at that point in time. So I would leave it for later. So yeah, I see what you're saying. And the simple answer is we can't say you stay with the first thing you get. No, you can't do that. It depends on the evidence. It depends on whether there's more depth to it. So I would never give a categorical statement like that to people. Though an exercise I do use with people is for them to ask spirit to give meaningful evidence that they can then drill into and work with. Or we then allow them to get a few pieces of evidence and we say, okay, that's where you're going to drill. Start drilling. Often on platform, when people are working, I say if I start coughing, there's a lot more to the evidence than you're not getting. So if they're suddenly working, they skip over it and they need to go back. There's a lot more there they need to get. But again, it takes an experienced medium watching who can link in to feel in where the depth is. So it's not an easy question to answer, but I hope you understand it. Omar, thanks for the no fluff answer. My pleasure. That's what I'm renowned for, I'm afraid. But obviously, if you're big into the fluff, then my style of teaching may not fit for you. You may need to lose a bit of fluff. Who knows? We'll see. Okay. Patricia. Hi, Martin. The SNU circle I'm in are too keen to have us get age at passing and what person passed from. Spirit doesn't always give that. Absolutely. I don't want to get too stalled out with this insistence. How to handle that? This is a problem we find with certain teachers. Initially, some people teach the checklist approach. And to a degree, if you were just starting out for the very first time and you had no idea what to get, I'd be asking you, can you feel an age? First of all, can you feel, is it male or female? Can you feel an age? Can you see what they look like? Can you sense what they are like? Description wise, can you get a passing condition or any information about health? This is what we call the absolute beginner checklist, because people don't know what to do. Well, I don't know what to do. Okay, so you're looking for types of evidence, categories of evidence: age, personality, description, passing condition, health, occupations, interests, dates, what have you. So we teach that initially. But I see professional working mediums even now who start every single link with a physical description, every single link with an age, which may be wrong, every single link with a passing condition. And it's like, I can see their early training is just never being left behind. Whereas I teach people to give what spirit gives you. My guidance to spirit is, we need enough evidence for you to be proven, for your loved ones to recognize you, for you to be understood who you are. And I don't mind what evidence to give me. I don't mind if they come through as an alcoholic. I don't mind if they come through with a huge personality. I don't mind if they come through with their occupation, they're a postman or a fireman. I don't mind if they come through with their passion, their biggest passion is they're out fly fishing. I don't mind what they bring, provided it gets them recognized. Often I'll not give an age. Often I may not give a health condition unless it's relevant. But I may get somebody who comes forward who passes in their 40s with cancer. But I'm not asking for it, it's what they bring. So as we move with experience, we release so much of that. That's the important thing to recognize. But if you're in a circle and the circle leader is asking you to get it, it's hard. You cannot either that's not the right circle for you if you don't feel that you're at that stage where you need to be doing that, or you've just got to go along with it and recognize that that's, if you like, the gateway through which you're then able to work doing mediumship beyond that. If that's what they're requiring and that's what they're wanting, go for it. One exercise I do is I give people a sheet of evidence categories and we get them to get as many pieces as possible in a 10-minute reading. And so you are asking for their age, you are asking for their passing condition, you're asking for their relationship, you're asking for a relevant name, you're asking for a date, you're asking for a like or a dislike, you're asking for information about the family. We want physical description as well. So we're trying to get every aspect of evidence, because as mediums, we can get stuck in a rut with our evidence. We can get the same things every time. So by training our minds to go for different things, it's beneficial in the early to intermediate stages. Down the line, when you're much more experienced, we need to surrender and let spirit bring what they need. But we set the intent that bring sufficient evidence for you to be recognized. Evidence you bring is up to you. That's ultimately what we're looking for. So yeah, it's a hard one, and I get that. And you don't upset the tutor, and you don't want to tell the tutor they're wrong. Absolutely not. So you've just got to go with what the tutor wants. And if that doesn't fit for you, if you're at a stage where you feel it's too limiting, it's a difficult decision then, I'm afraid. But it's, you can talk to the tutor about it, see what they say, but some may be quite firm with their beliefs and views. I can't give you an easy answer with that one, I'm afraid. Madeleine, good evening to you. Cliff, good evening to you as well. Or morning, wherever you are in the world. You may not all be in the evening like me here. So I shall say hi and welcome easier. Okay, next question. Philip. I've read in medium books you can still develop without a circle. In my town, I don't have access to a circle, so I sit in the power often. Do you also believe in this belief? So, can a medium develop on their own? I've got a whole video on that on my channel that I did. I did a whole series on mediumship development. How to develop mediumship, how long it takes to develop mediumship, can you do it on your own, etc. So do check out those videos on my channel. But the one on your own, can you develop on your own without ever having sat in a circle? Some natural mediums, yes. But for most people, we need guidance, whether that's in workshops, whether that's in online classes. It doesn't have to be a physical circle in your town. A lot of people do not have circles in their town. I get that. I see that. You can, with mediumship, there's 3 areas you've got to do. You've got to understand the theory. And many of you know that I've got a whole bunch of products on my store. I'll just mention it now. Pre-recorded courses, study program, teaching videos. And basically they teach the foundational theory of mediumship. So to do mediumship, you've got to understand how it works, what the basis of it is. Then you've got to do self-development practices like sitting in the power to build your own power. You know, medium, you need to sort your own stuff. You need to heal yourself. You need to remove any blocks, barriers to your mediumship that are going to interfere with you working down the line. If you don't do your emotions because you've got traumatic experience which you've repressed, you might need to work through that. So we've got all sorts of things we can work on self. Meditation, learning to calm the mind, learning to have that discipline of the mind is vital to mediumship. Another one of the reasons we do Sit in the Power. So if you don't know what Sit in the Power is, I do have a playlist on it. I have 4 videos on Sit in the Power. First one, why you should do it. Second one, how to do it. Third one, common beginners problems. Fourth one, more experienced intermediate problems that you encounter with it. And there's also a key to Sit in the Power, the key to mediumship, which is kind of a big overview of Sit in the Power. I highly recommend you check them out. And I have a shortened version of Sit in the Power on my channel. And the long one is available from my store. So basically, Sit in the Power is a very valuable tool to learn to calm the mind, to learn discipline. But I know people who develop mediumship without doing it as well. Absolutely. It's not a necessity, but it can speed the process and it can help you along the way. But the third part of the equation is practice. You need to put mediumship into practice. Now, you can practice doing facilitated circles or practice sessions, exchange readings. But if you have nobody supervising you, no teacher watching you, no good medium, good teacher who can see where you may be going wrong, you can develop a heck of a lot of bad habits and it can go badly wrong. And people often come to see me and come to classes or workshops and say, oh, I developed on my own. And it's like, yeah, it's so clear. There's so many bad practices, and often there's even a lack of understanding of what mediumship even is. So I do recommend that at the very least you get a good grounding in the theory of mediumship and you get some practice, supervised practices, whether that's circles, classes, workshops, courses. You know, some people go courses with good teachers once or twice a year to help supplement their practice. All of that I highly recommend. So I'm hoping that kind of gives you an insight. So do I believe you can develop without ever doing any form of formalized teaching? You can. It's possible, but I don't recommend it. I recommend you have good teaching when you can get it. Yeah, and if you don't have a circle, as I say, feel free to check out my videos. I have a series of 24 videos covering all aspects of mediumship. Mediumship classes 1 to 12 give you a pretty solid introduction to mediumship. I have a study program which is based upon those videos and adds a tutorial for each one, which drills in deeper, answers maybe 30 questions, gives suggestions for exercises. And it also, the certification available for doing modules 1 to 3, if you want to get into the videos but in much more depth. And I also have a number of courses which kind of drill into different aspects in more depth, except the fundamentals of mediumship. That is similar to the other teachings. But the other ones, evidence, readings, platform, drills more depth into those areas, spiritual self-development, meditation, and sitting for spirit. Other ones to help target specific areas like confidence in mediumship. And if you want to know about the great mediums of the past, so there's a whole bunch of courses I offer as well. So if you haven't got much locally, you're welcome to avail yourself of my teachings to help give you that good, solid basis. And obviously, listening to me now, you'll get to understand whether my teaching style is a good fit for you. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. Good. So, Patricia, gotcha. Good. We're on the same page. Absolutely. B-Tone, do you tutor or do any private mentorships? I don't do private mentoring. I do offer some courses like the ones I've just shown you, which I run. I tend to run them once and then the recordings are available. I will be running another course next year on guides and helpers. And I will probably do something on healing and also inspiration and possibly trance and maybe even physical at some point. So they're potential things I will do. I don't do private mentoring at the moment. I'm trying to get a book written at the moment. So that's what I'm trying to focus upon. But hopefully in the future, I will be doing more opportunities for you to do some either progressive mediumship with me, things like that. That's my plan, ultimately. Watch this page. B-Tone, anywhere on YouTube where I can capture more lectures from mediums, especially the pioneer mediums. I follow Gordon Higginson's YouTube channel, which are amazing. So hopefully you all know that the YouTube channel of Gordon is what I've built. Similar to the Gordon Higginson website, www.gordonhigginson.co.uk, and the Gordon Higginson Facebook page. You can follow it all there. There will be more stuff going up there from Gordon in the future. If you're interested in learning more about Gordon and some of our great mediums of the past, I do offer a course, Great Mediums of the Past, which is I do basically a lecture on each of the great mediums, 5 great mediums who most inspire me. And they are Gordon, who obviously I've built the website about, know quite a bit about, Estelle Roberts, Helen Hughes, the trance medium Maurice Barbanel, and the healer Harry Edwards. So I go through their life stories and what aspects of them made them great mediums. And then I do a big class at the end on what can we learn from the great mediums, what qualities have they got, what can we take from what they are like to become better mediums ourselves, greater mediums ourselves. So if you're interested in the pioneers, I highly recommend that course. That's a really good course to check out. And some people have even said that the final class, what we learn from the great mediums, that should be required teaching for everybody, for all people in mediumship. That's what quite a few people have said with their feedback. So whether that interests you or not, go for it if it does. So where else on YouTube? What else is there on YouTube? Obviously, there's a Leslie Flint channel, the Leslie Flint Educational Trust does a channel. So if you want to learn more about Leslie Flint, that's there. But beyond that, it's quite hard to find information on YouTube. Obviously, of course, you've got all the books of the great mediums you can read. Estelle Roberts' book, Helen Hughes, etc. Yeah, all the great mediums. Leslie Flint has a great book as well. I highly recommend Alec Harris if you're into physical mediumship. Hunter Selkirk as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of great mediums you can look at. And obviously even earlier pioneers, Emma Hardinge Britton, Andrew Jackson Davis, etc. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff out there, but there's in an easy format, there's not quite so much. So Janet, you posted a comment, where to start. I've seen many things since young now. Would love to learn more about what I see. I guess that's just a comment, but if there's a question attached to it, do let me know. If you wish to get your question answered earlier, you can, as I say earlier, make a small donation through Super Chat. Super Chat is at the bottom of the chat box, little $sign. If you do a Super Chat, I do answer your question next. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can use Super Chat for that purposes, or you can use PayPal as well. I have a PayPal me link in the pinned to the very top of the chat box, also in the comments and description. And for those who've made donations in the past, I greatly appreciate it. And if you want to support me, by all means, head over to my store and check out what I offer. Okay. Janet, Chris L. recommend you highly. That's good. B-Tone, have you ever had any unpleasant experiences with a sitter during a reading? How did you navigate through it, and what was the lesson in that experience? Well, what is unpleasant? You get unpleasant sitters who can be very difficult, very challenging sitters. You get people who can be very skeptical, who don't believe what's taking place. You can get some very rude sitters as well. So, yeah, there's all sorts, really. But treat people the way you would want to be treated is my motto. I'm always polite to people. I will always try and educate people first. And some people just aren't your cup of tea. There's a wonderful little story, whether some people are your cup of tea and some people aren't. And if they're not my cup of tea, if mediumship is not really what they're into, some people come and check things out and then they're very skeptical and they'll never believe. And that's just the way it is. I was once on a forum, a spiritualist forum, And a guy posted he had readings with all these well-known mediums. He'd had no evidence whatsoever, which I found very sad. So I actually just contacted him through private message and offered him a free reading to try and help him to get some evidence, which I gave him a free reading. And at the time, I recorded the reading as well, because I record my readings. And at the time, he was very, very pleased with his reading and offered to pay for it, and actually did pay for it, because he said, your reading has been better than so many more that I paid. And I thought all was well, until he posted another couple of months later. He'd had readings from all these mediums, including myself, and never had any evidence. And it's like, aha, he's just so skeptical. He always rationalizes it away. In the moment, he accepts it. In the moment, he believes it to be true. He goes away and thinks about it and convinces himself otherwise. We can't change people like that. But be kind to them. You haven't got to be cruel to them. Just be kind to them. You know, I've had people come for readings who've had mental illness, who aren't really in the right place for readings. And again, what can you do but be kind to them? You know, and you may choose to terminate a reading and not charge them. If a reading doesn't work, if it really doesn't work and I can't do a great deal, I rarely charge for it. You know, part of my terms and conditions is that you're paying me for my time. But ultimately, if I can't get anything and it's just not working, I may just say, look, you know, it's just not working. But I don't really like people to be truly unhappy, neither. So, you know, I'm just happy to wish them well on their journey and let it go. Let it go. Absolutely. If we can let things go, that's good as well. So, yeah, there's always a learning within it. Whatever happens, there's always a learning. You know, readings that don't work, there's always some learning in it. You learn that not every reading works. You learn that there are certain factors that are beyond your control. So, yeah, hopefully that helps as well. Let's see where we are. I've got several chat boxes open at the moment, and one of them is completely frozen and keeps throwing messages all over my screen that it's unresponsive. I will move to the other one. Okay. Just me. How often should we practice doing readings? It really depends upon where you are in your development. If you're just a beginner, you know, and if you're going to circles, that may be enough. If you're more intermediate experienced and you want to get additional practice, by all means do practice readings. But I don't think you need to go mad. When I started out developing, we would maybe do mediumship 3 times a month in circle. And I didn't seek any more than that. It wasn't until I was really down the line of an advanced intermediate, moving towards more experience, that I would do a lot more readings. But again, if you're not able to get practice in circles classes several times a month, then yeah, you may seek to supplement that by doing practice readings. Some people get addicted and try and do them all the time. I don't recommend that. Some people want to do one every day, which is just crazy. It's too much. No need. So you don't lose anything when you develop. You don't lose anything by not working. Yeah, if you not work for 3 months or something, yeah, I get that you feel a bit rusty, but your development, what you unfold is never taken away from you. That's what I'm trying to say. What you unfold will never be taken back from you. So, yeah. But there's no hard and fast rules. You know, you yourself should have a sense of whether it feels okay, whether it's a bit too much. I see a lot of people who are like, I'm practicing my mediumship. This week I need to book 15 practice sittings. For me, it's complete overkill, absolute overkill. You don't need to do that. It's just too much. And the thing is, some people equate quantity with quicker development, and it's not true. You know, the work on self is what helps your development. Yeah, you'll learn from working. I get that. But you won't learn any more from doing 2 readings in a week than doing 20. You know, it's not going to advance you rapidly to do 20 versus 2 versus 1. As long as you're working a bit with your mediumship and you're open to understanding that what you're learning from it, that's more important. So don't get into the idea that quantity is best. It's quality, really. Quality is what matters most, and how much you take from each one. Maria, do you let your client ask spirit questions? Generally, no, because often they don't know the right questions to ask. Usually the questions they want to ask is, where's the will? Or the questions I want to ask is, you passed in challenging circumstances, were you murdered, or was it natural, or did you take your own life, or was it an accident? And these kind of questions are incredibly complex to answer because it triggers our own mind. And often spirit won't give you the answers, and what you end up doing is reading the sitter and trying to read what the sitter wants. And people ask crazy questions, really in-depth questions. So I generally say, let's work with spirit. And if there's a question at the end, I might let you ask one at the end, but I don't. Some people come in, list of 20 questions, and it's just crazy. When am I going to meet Mr. Right? When will my boss at work leave? I hate him, I can't stand him. And spirit can't answer those questions for you. How can they? So, yeah, you got to be a bit careful with that. Now, the only time I ever will let people ask for what they want is when I can feel it's not the person they want. They come for a sitting and I'm giving them communicators and they're like, that's great. But I'm like, okay, there's someone you really want. Who is it? I'll try and get them for you. But I will usually wait until at least the halfway mark, and then we'll try and see what happens. If I can get them, great. If I can't, okay. So hopefully that answers that one. B-Tone, yeah, the book is moving along, just not quite as quickly as I would like. It's going to be a 2023 publication, not 2022, which I think we probably gathered that, haven't we? Welcome, Melba. Lovely to see you. Maria, I feel like I would get in my head if I let my sitter ask questions. That's the exact problem we have. When someone asks you a question, it triggers your own mind. When we're working with spirit, we're receiving information into our mind, but we're suppressing our own mind with the discipline of losing our own thoughts, our own mind, so that whatever comes, we know is from spirit. But when people start asking you questions, your own mind is triggered. It cannot not be. So then how do you know whether it's from spirit, from your own mind? How do you know whether you're picking it up psychically from the sitter? How do you know these things? It's not easy. It really isn't easy to figure out. So, yeah, it is a challenge. So, I agree totally. You will get in your own head. Cliff, any advice for helping spirit energies move on? Now, yeah, I'm assuming you're suggesting what we should do to help spirit go to the light who don't go there, to help spirits who are stuck, or to help spirits that need rescuing. Now, I personally don't do rescue work. I don't do any of that. My belief is that spirit don't need us to do that. The spirit world can do that. They're better placed. They're in the spirit world to begin with. We can send healing to any situation, and that's about as much as we can do. Or we can ask those in the spirit world to assist. That's as much as we can do. I cannot steer people around the spirit world because I'm not in spirit yet. How can I? Guides can. People in the spirit world, teams in the spirit world who are there to help people cross, they can. So I don't help spirits. I don't try. I don't believe in spirit entities that are latched onto people that have to be taken off and sent to the spirit world. I don't do spirit release. I have a video on my channel called Lost Souls and Earthbound Spirits. I talk about it in great depth in that video if you're interested. My beliefs on lost souls and earthbound spirits. And I don't believe that any soul is lost. I believe spirit know the whereabouts of every soul. The divine mind, God, knows the whereabouts of all its creation. And I don't believe there are any trapped spirits. There are any spirits who are stuck in no man's land. No, don't believe in any of that. So check out that video if you want the full in-depth answer. I'll keep it short there, though. B-Tone, definitely interested in the great mediums of the past. Can I purchase the course if I'm from the US? Of course, you can purchase it from anywhere. If you go to my store, it's under the courses category, and you just add it to your basket and check out wherever in the world you are. It accepts PayPal. It also accepts credit cards. It accepts Apple and Google Pay. So there's lots of different methodologies for payment. Okay, next question. Patricia, you mentioned an upcoming Guides and Helpers class. I've got your ST6 Guides and Helpers and several others and Getting Better Evidence. What might the new version add? So basically the Guides and Helpers class is just one 2-hour lecture that I did. So the idea with the Guides and Helpers course is to go into a lot more detail. So instead of 2 hours of content, it will be 4 sessions, 4 2-hour sessions, plus some meditations to get to know your Guides and Helpers, plus some exercises you can do in your own time to get to know your Guides and Helpers, and basically just a bit more understanding about what Guides and Helpers are and how vital it is to know them and all the rest of that. So getting into it in a lot more depth. If you like, the Guides and Helpers class is kind of a quick, brief skim along the surface, so it will just go into a lot more detail. And a lot of people keep saying to me, I'd like to know who my Guides and Helpers are. How do I find out about Guides and Helpers? So that will be an opportunity to talk about all those. And any questions you have on Guides and Helpers, you bring along and we'll answer all those questions as well. So no doubt the course will answer dozens of questions on Guides and Helpers as well. So that's the difference. Hopefully that makes sense. Quantity wise, you're going to get 8 hours plus 10 hours of teaching versus 2 or 1.5. So Maria, I was doing a reading. It went well for the first few minutes. Then all of a sudden I stopped receiving any info. What should I do in this situation? So this is what I was talking about in the beginning, where we have to monitor what's happening. And when that tells me something has gone wrong. So we've got to work out what's gone wrong. Is it you? Have you fallen out of the power from spirit? Has something happened that's dented your confidence? That's moved you further away from the spirit world? Have you, so we need to try and, if you like, troubleshoot it. I do have one of my videos actually is called class number 8, Managing Problems Within Mediumship. And in that one, I go through all the different factors involved in mediumship. I go through all the different problems you can encounter. And so you kind of like need to have an understanding a little bit of what could go wrong in mediumship to be able to find the answer, to find out where we're going wrong. So the thing is, if you're working in a platform environment and you go to the wrong person, spirit may step back. No, that's not my loved one. I'm off. So that happens. When you start working with somebody and it's almost a spirit pull away, and it's like all the evidence dries up. It's like you're in the wrong place, but that's platform. If it's sitting, that's not going to happen, because in a sitting, whoever comes forward should link to that person, provided, here's the proviso, you're asking specifically for people to come forward who belong to them. If you just open to any random person in the spirit world, you might get any random person. So don't do it. I do have a video, 10 tips for practicing mediumship. And that is one of those top 10 tips for sure. First one is you've got to have a recipient, someone who can answer up, a sitter, a recipient. You've got to have a recipient. You can't do mediumship without someone to give you feedback. That's vital. So check that one out if you're interested. 10 tips on how to practice mediumship. Highly recommend it for everybody. It's really a helpful video. So yeah, if you've asked for someone specifically and then it dries up, that tends to tell me that either you've fallen out of the power, you've run out of power, you haven't built enough power to be able to do the reading with. Maybe the person's not a good fit for you. I often talk about the radio analogy. And the radio analogy, this little one here shows it. The spirit world covers a range of vibrations, range of frequencies. As mediums, we move our mind to blend to the spirit world. If you like the spirit world, we could imagine different radio bands. An advanced medium could cover all of it. An intermediate could cover some of it. And a beginner only covers a small amount. Say a person comes to link with you as a beginner and they're right at the edge of where you can work. You're not easily able to connect with them. It may not work well. So in that scenario, you'd invite somebody else forward who links to try and work better. So it's, again, there's no set answer to any scenario. Any scenario, there's no set answer. This happens, do that. It's up to you to work out, is this me? Is this spirit? The spirit move back? Is it not a good connection? We've got to try and troubleshoot it to find out where it works. And again, it depends on your level. And to be honest, I don't know what level you're at to be able to give you the exact answer. So yeah, I hope that helps in some way. But there's no easy answer. This happens, this is the solution. You kind of need to feel into it, troubleshoot it yourself. Okay. Rain. Sometimes the picture I receive is literal and accurate, and other times it was just meant to trigger something related to the picture. How can I tell the difference? Sometimes you can't. It's a simple answer. Spirit very rarely give you photo perfect images because the energy needed, the power needed to get it photo accurate is just immense, and it's not easy to do. And plus, are we capable of receiving it? Spirit will often give what I call a photo fit view of somebody. Someone comes to my mind, I see them with glasses and a bald head. It's a photo fit. Hopefully you know what a photo fit is, where when people, they would look at different aspects. Did he have glasses? What were his eyebrows like? What was his chin like? And you put all these bits together and you get the outline of an image. So that's often how spirit will work with us. I remember doing a reading for a guy, and I was giving him his son, and it was highly accurate information. I said he's got long hair and he's quite alternative in his appearance, and yeah. And I gave it all, and it was all being taken, and I had this image in my mind what I'd seen, and then he showed me on his phone what he really looked like, and I was like, that's not what I got at all. Nowhere near that. His hair was really quite odd and outrageous, and I didn't get that. I just got the idea of long hair, being a bit alternative, gothic, and all those concepts were in there. But again, it was symbolic imagery as opposed to accurate. So don't expect accurate imagery is what I would say. Understand that if it's to do with the piano, spirit will put an image of a piano in your mind, the easiest one they can get in there. It may be an upright piano, it may be a grand piano, but it doesn't mean the piano they used was upright or grand. It's just they want to get across to you the concept of a piano. If you don't try and go looking for the name of the piano, and unless you're saying, okay, they played the piano, show me the piano you played. If you said, show me the piano you played, then yes, you're more likely to get a photo accurate image as close as possible. But what I find as well is it's like a magnifying glass. Whatever part we're looking at lifts out and we see it within our mind's eye. I don't see all the detail of the whole, but if I look at a certain part of it, if I imagine, okay, what would the legs of that piano look like? Or what color is it? It comes to me. It's only like, so I try to describe it that I'm not seeing the whole image, but I can see when I focus on certain parts, it's as if it appears. But think about it. I'm asking spirit to show me these bits, and they are. But to give the whole thing photo accurate to begin with would just be too much. It would take a lot of effort, their side and my side, to receive it. So it's unnecessary. Spirit work to conserve energy, to conserve power. Mediumship functions through power. Power is the fuel for mediumship. If you haven't got much power, you've got to make it run for longer. So spirit cleverly work to conserve energy and power so that it runs for longer. So I hope that makes sense to you. So I'm hoping that has answered your question. But how can you tell the difference? It's not easy. If you've asked for a photo accurate, you may get it. But I would say, assume that every image you get is not photo accurate unless it proves otherwise. And you won't go far wrong. So if you are enjoying the class today, do hit the like button. Do leave a comment if you're watching it on the replay. If you want to support the channel, as I say, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that through the super chat. The little dollar sign at the bottom of the chat box. You can also use PayPal me if you want to support my channel. Go to my store, check out all the products I offer there. And there's courses, meditations, videos, all sorts. If you want to support the channel, by all means, check them out. I will say as well that I do have a sale coming up. A holiday sale that will be starting. It should be on the 27th of December and run for just over a week. So that will be an opportunity to get my products at a discount if you want to diarise that. And also my prices will be going up in the new year. As I'm sure you're aware, everything's going up at the moment. So my prices will have to rise, sadly, in the new year, maybe 10%, a little bit more. So if you want to get all my products at a cheaper price, now is the time, because they will be going up when the sale ends. So back to where we were. Madeleine. Spirit uses your memory when somebody dies on a holiday. I remember this. Spirit use all memories you have. Whatever you have within your mind, spirit are able to access it and use it. If you know of somebody who has a certain condition, it's easier for you to get it because you have some degree of knowledge of it, if that makes sense. So the more knowledge you have of life, the easier it is for spirit to use. The more knowledge you have of different personalities, the easier it is for spirit to use. The more knowledge you have of different aspects of life, different interests, the easier it is for spirit to use you. I know some people who say, I have no interest in the living, I just want to work with those in the spirit world. And you'll be very, very limited as a medium, because you have to have an interest in people in this life to have an interest in people from the spirit world, because they're living people in both worlds. Don't make the mistake of just trying to work solely with the spirit world. You are in this world for a reason. You need to be a part of this world. You need to work in this world. So the more knowledge you get, the more life experience you get, all of that can be used. Job knowledge can be used. I know a medium who was an undertaker, and spirit will give the most amazing detailed evidence about their funeral and their passing because it's knowledge they have. People who've got medical knowledge, medical background, either as nurses, doctors, etc., they are able to get very detailed information in relation to health because they're aware of it. They get heart. Okay, what was it? Was it atrial fibrillation? Was it, did they have a pacemaker fitted? Did they have angina? Did they have, where the heart is just heart disease, where the heart just could be dying or has muscular problems? Did they have heart attacks, silent heart attacks? All the detail is there to be understood if they have that medical knowledge. If you have loved ones who've passed of certain conditions, you may have that knowledge within your mind that spirit can use. Whatever knowledge you've got, spirit can use it. So spirit will sometimes flash you a memory of someone where the same information fits. The trouble is you've got to work out what fits and not take it all to fit. You've got to work out which of the bits that fit here. I will often see my own loved ones when I'm working with spirit because parts of their experience overlaps. It's the same. But I've got to feel into what aspect of it is and how far is it overlain. Is it exactly the same or is it a bit the same? And that's when your clair-sentience kicks in for sure. So hopefully that helps as well. Patricia, cool, thank you. Love your course and your classes. Thank you very much. So yeah, I do offer lots of courses, classes. As I say, the study program is my flagship program. There's 4 modules there. Each module is 5 of my videos plus 5 supporting tutorials. Each tutorial is 30 questions. And on average, they run for about 2.5 hours. And I give suggestions for exercises to work with each part as well. So that's my flagship program, and I do offer certification if you purchase modules 1 to 3, and you have to submit class notes. It's not a case of buying them. You actually have to do some work and submit class notes as well. But I do offer certification with that. Alternatively, if you just want to buy the videos piecemeal, whatever you wish to buy, whatever interests you, you can do that. They're available separately. And then the courses are more recent, and the courses kind of started with the idea of spiritual self-development, which is very key to your development, meditation and sitting, then fundamentals, getting better evidence, better private readings, better platform mediumship. That's the order they were delivered, and that's the order, if you like, that they build. But you can kind of access any way you like. You could go in on the fundamentals of mediumship, or you could go in on the meditation course. Spiritual self-development really ought to be a part of it, but it's there as a starting point. If you want it, you don't need to. You could start a meditation and sitting. If you're one of these people who has issues with confidence, check out the Confident Medium. And if you're interested in great mediums of the past, check out the Great Mediums, absolutely. So each course is 4 classes, 4 2-hour classes, plus, for example, the meditation one, that includes 4 meditations as well, Sitting in the Power, plus a second version thereof, plus a meditation to meet your guides, and a meditation for spiritual self-development. So more meditation, get to know your spirit team. So yeah, there are quite a few courses and things out there as well. So if that interests you, do check it out on my channel. So are there any more questions? Patricia, I use your purchase in the power and all. It's not in the meditation per se. During that, I invite my spirit team and visualize that energies overlapping, blending. Absolutely. You can use You can use sit in the power as an extension for a lot of different things. You can extend it to touch the essence of God, to be in the presence of the divine. You can get into the power and invite one of your team to blend with you. Absolutely. You can use it in so many different ways. You can ask Spirit to give, at the end of sit in the power, you can ask Spirit to give you inspiration in relation to a question you take in there. So there's a whole raft of different ways in which you can work with sit in the power. It's a very powerful tool. Hence why I've got so many videos on my channel about sitting in the power. But not everybody teaches sitting in the power the same way. There's a lot of videos, a lot of things on YouTube that are called sit in the power, which to my mind, they're not. Sitting in the power is an attunement meditation where we attune through our own soul and then blend with the spirit world. That for me is sit in the power. And we sit in the power of our own soul and we sit in the power and the presence of spirit. That's where we're seeking to go. Whereas if you just float around nicely in a meditation, it's lovely, but it's not quite the same. For me, sit in the power has to be about primarily attunement and discipline. Absolutely, discipline. So do we have any more questions, or have we come to the end? So in the absence of any more questions, I will bring the class to a close. If anyone has a question, and you're back busy typing it, you can... we have one more. Here we go. And if you have any more, you can pop them in. I'm happy to go for a bit longer, but if not, we can finish whenever. Patricia, when something rings true, can you feel your solar plexus heating? Lately, I felt warming, aching in my heart space. Comments. Now, what each person gets is unique to them. That's the thing you've got to remember. How your mediumship works is unique to you. What you experience when you're sitting in the power is unique to you. So what operates for one person is unique to them, and it's hard to draw to say that is happening across the board. For me, when I know something to be true, I don't get anything other than just a knowing. It's just a knowing within my mind. I don't get any heating or anything in my solar plexus, so it's not something I'm familiar with. But again, we can never deny anybody their experience. What I hate people saying is, "Oh no, that's not possible. You can't possibly get that. I never ever heard of it. It's not possible." Of course, it's possible. It's your experience, and what you experience is your experience. Never allow anyone to deny it. That's the most important part. Remember that as teachers, we teach from our aggregated knowledge, but we don't know everything. How can we? And we also, people often say to me, when I'm sitting in the power, this happens. And the amount of different things that I've come across now must be in the hundreds. So some of them come up time and time again. We say, that's common. And other ones come up occasionally. And we say, okay, it's not unusual. And other ones we hear for the first time. But we can never deny anyone their experience. That's the most important thing to recognize. So go with it, open to it, just watch it, monitor it, and see what clues it gives you. When people get experiences, I always say it's up to you to work with that experience, to understand how that experience matters to you. It's not anybody else's job to explain it away. A lot of people say, "Oh, tell me what this means." And it's like, no, it's for you to work with it. And it may take the entire length of your mediumship development training for you to figure it all out. It may take even longer than that, but you get there in the end. So Lowry, thank you very much for your donation. And just me, thank you very much as well for your super chat donation. It's much appreciated. I do appreciate it. As I say, if you want to support the channel, you can also check out my store and what I offer. And of course, you can subscribe to my newsletter as well if you want to get notification of when the sales are on, notification of when I'm doing these live Q&As. You can subscribe to my newsletter to get that. And of course, like the channel, comment on the channel. That all helps as well with the algorithm on YouTube. And absolutely, every time is an adventure for sure. All experiences give us value. Absolutely. Thank you. I was cooking, so nothing in the chat. Hi, chat people. I would like to know that you confirmed 2 thoughts I had in a short space of time. That's good to know. Glad to know. And I understand that other people may be doing other things and listening to it, and I understand that as well. Not everyone is able to ask a question, absolutely. But if you have questions, do let me have them. One other thing I will say as well is I know some people that are in time zones that cannot ask questions in real time. For example, people in Australia, this time of it is not a good time for them. It's in the middle of their night. So if you are in Australia, listen to this and you have a burning question, by all means, do ping it to me. You can ping it to me from my website. And if they're reasonable questions, I'm happy to fit a couple in at the beginning like I did today. If people ask me interesting questions that have real value for everybody else, I'm happy to bring it to the class to help. So by all means, feel free to do that as well. Because I know that certain areas of the world, it's just, it's just not possible to come in real time unless you set your alarm clock to get out of bed at silly o'clock in the morning or not stay up all night. I get that. So in the absence of any more questions, I'm going to thank you all for coming. I'm going to wish you all a very happy Christmas. I hope you have a lovely Christmas and hope it's a wonderful 2023 for you. So thank you all for coming. Take care. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the next one. Bye for now.